Elle l'a appelé pour se venger de toi.
Allez, ça comme ça.
At the beginning of the movie, we see a group of friends. A guy named Farid comes there and asks Binto if she's going to see Morjana later and if Amelie will be there. One of the guys named Akko in the group says that Amelie doesn't love him anymore and that it's over, and it's been 2 months. When Binto starts to leave, Farid asks her to tell Amelie to call him. Later that night, Binto, Amelie, and Morjana meet at their hangout spot, an abandoned building. Binto informs Amelie that Farid wants her to call him, but Amelie dismisses the idea, saying she doesn't care. After a while, Amelie notices something written on the wall beneath the wallpaper. Morjana then tells them about Morocco's famous legend, Aisha Kandisha. She explains that Aisha Kandisha is the ghost of a beautiful woman who destroys men. If she is summoned for revenge, or if someone crosses her path at night, she will drive them insane and kill them. Amelie gets a little scared by this, but Binto finds it all a joke and starts making fun of it. Later, while Amelie is heading home, she suddenly encounters Farid, who asks her why they broke up, to which she tells him that it's because he is violent and wasted. Farid becomes angry and starts physically assaulting Amelie, causing her to lose consciousness. When she regains consciousness, Farid attempts to force himself on her, but she fights him off and manages to escape. She returns home and, in a fit of rage, draws a pentagram on her bathroom wall to summon Aisha Kandisha to punish Farid. Meanwhile, Farid senses the presence of the entity, which terrifies him and makes him flee. However, in his panic, he collides with a car. The next morning, Amelie gets a text from Binto asking if she has heard about Farid. All three of them meet, and Morjana tells them that Farid died last night. Akko arrives and says that the driver reported Farid was running as if he were being chased, but there was nothing there. Amelie then reveals that she ran into Farid the previous night. He was completely wasted and tried to rape her, but she managed to escape by biting his lip. Later that night, at a pool party, Amelie hears a strange sound and sees Kandisha on the other side of the fire. She is shocked by the sight, but the next moment, Kandisha disappears. Meanwhile, Emamata goes into labor, and Ben notices that Amelie is very scared. When he approaches her to ask if she is okay, Kandisha shoves him into the flames, resulting in severe burns and his demise. Later, they research Kandisha and discover various descriptions of her. Some accounts depict her as beautiful and seductive, while others describe her as gigantic and monstrous. Some say she has the hooves of a camel or a goat, but all agree on one thing, that during her lifetime, she fought against Portuguese occupation in the 16th century. It's said that her beauty lured the soldiers and then she killed them. Skeptical? Binto asks Amelie if she truly believes she summoned a ghost from her bathroom. Amelie responds that she's unsure, but she meant it sincerely. Binto suggests that if Amelie indeed bit off half of Farid's lip, maybe he ran and got hit by a car, and Ben's death could also be a coincidence. Upon returning home, they are startled to see Kandisha in the hallway. Kandisha turns towards them, and Amelie quickly prepares to defend herself and her brother. However, Kandisha leaves quietly without any confrontation. They quickly enter their house, and Amelie instructs her brother to go to bed and stay in his room. Suddenly, there's a loud bang on the door, and when Amelie comes out to check, she sees Kandisha leaving. Perplexed, Amelie goes after her, and soon after, her vision blurs. Meanwhile, Akko awakens to the sound of something stirring. As he ventures into the kitchen to investigate, he is suddenly assaulted by Kandisha, who forcefully plunges his head into the sink. Akko frantically seizes a knife and stabs Kandisha, and as he turns around, he is terrified to see her behind him. And in the next instant, we witness him forcefully collapsing onto the road, resulting in his death. Amelie visits Morjana and informs her that Akko is dead, claiming she witnessed it as if she were there. She reveals that it was Kandisha who chased Farid and pushed Ben into the fire. Later, they warn others about Kandisha, but Abdel dismisses Amelie's visions, saying that if they smoked what Emily does, they would see goat hooves too. He claims KANDISHA is just old country nonsense meant to scare kids, similar to France's Lady in White. Erwin discovers that if they perform a ceremony to invoke a ghost, they can reverse it by doing the exact same ritual backward and saying take off. After the boys leave, the girls decide to revoke the ghost, but since they need blood for the ritual, Emily kills her brother's rabbit. She then tells KANDISHA that she called her and thanks her for answering, and now she releases her. After a while, Emily sees KANDISHA's reflection in the water. Meanwhile, at the hospital, an old patient stands near Erwin, appearing terrified of something inside the room. However, Erwin doesn't see anyone. Suddenly, Erwin's child starts crying, and he immediately runs inside to check. KANDISHA appears next to him and attacks Erwin, and in the next moment, we see his lifeless body. The next day, they meet with the rector for his help, who introduces them to a sorcerer named Ahmed. Ahmed tells them that Aisha KANDISHA was a beautiful woman whose husband was killed by the Portuguese. In vengeance, she killed many soldiers, but once captured, 6 henchmen tortured her until her last breath. Her martyred soul bonded with a jinn, perpetuating her vengeance beyond death, and when invoked, she demands the lives of 6 men as an offering. The summoner witnesses her abominations with their own eyes, and there are 2 ways to end the curse. The first one is to invoke the demon and exorcise her, and he doesn't tell them the second way, saying the first one will work. After this, Rector removes the carpet under which a symbol is drawn, explaining that it's Kadam Soliman, the seal of Solomon. He asks them all to sit there, and then Ahmed arrives to begin the ritual. Rector instructs them to hold each other's hands and never break the circle under any circumstances. Rector then recites some spells and asks them to recite after him. They all comply, and after some time, Aisha KANDISHA appears in front of them. Seeing her, they all become deeply frightened. KANDISHA reveals her terrifying form and shows them visions that cause immense pain, but they do not break the circle and continue the ritual. After some time, KANDISHA leaves and everything becomes quiet, and Rector assures them that it's finished, advising them all to rest. Later, when Morjana returns home, she hears some noise. She goes to Abdul's room to check, but as she turns on the light, he disappears. On the other hand, we see Abdel in the gym, where KANDISHA appears in front of him and starts moving towards him. However, Abdel is shocked when he notices that instead of human feet, she has goat's hooves. Terrified, he tries to run but slips and falls. KANDISHA approaches him and breaks his leg with her hoof. After this, she puts her hoof on his back, breaking his spinal cord, and finally kills him by crushing his head. She stands there afterward, screaming loudly, and the scene cuts here. The girls return to Rector and inform him that the ritual didn't work, revealing that Morjana's brother died. And when they demand to see Ahmed, he reveals to them that he died that night because the ceremony drained all his strength. Emily asks him what the second way is, to which he responds that she must die. He explains that the one who invoked KANDISHA must die to stop the curse. She has to sacrifice herself to save the souls that KANDISHA covets and be reincarnated as her. Emily leaves there in shock, and it is revealed that Ahmed was Rector's father. Later that evening, Amelie attempts suicide, but Morjana and Binto intervene to prevent it. However, upon reaching Binto's house, they are horrified to witness KANDISHA in her gigantic form, attacking her father and tearing him into 2 pieces in front of their eyes. They then decide to confront KANDISHA and bring along Ameli's brother to their gathering spot. As they wait for KANDISHA's arrival, their anticipation ends abruptly when they realize she's there to target Ameli's brother. Alert and armed with spray cans, as KANDISHA moves towards Amelie's brother, they lure KANDISHA onto the pentagram they've prepared. They then quickly surround her and form a circle and begin chanting spells to exorcise her. Despite KANDISHA's attempts to intimidate them, they persist in their ritual. However, when she approaches Ameli's brother, he panics and breaks the circle. Witnessing this, Rector urges them to flee and remains there to confront her. But KANDISHA seizes him by the neck and hoists him up. Meanwhile, Amelie and her friends stumble upon a door, which turns out to be an elevator. As Bintu attempts to confront KANDISHA, she fractures her arm, and then she knocks down Morjana too. Kandisha then advances toward Ameli's brother, but before she can harm him, she inexplicably vanishes, and he soon discovers that Amelie sacrificed herself to protect him. After a few days, Binto, Morjana, Ameli's brother, and Recapss gather to pay tribute to Ameli's memory as they witness the demolition of the building. Later that night, we observe Ameli's brother summoning Aisha Kandisha by creating a pentagram on the mirror. Suddenly, the lights flicker, and Aisha Kandisha materializes, but she now embodies Amelie's form. Thanks for facing the frights with us. If you survived this video, drop a like, summon that subscribe button, and brace yourself for more horror. Until next time, stay spooked.